Holy moly. I just went the webcam. Every time I order something on the internet, on a certain website that you probably all know, there's just this tiny voice in my head that says, there's something else you wanted to order from this website. You should remember it. And then I don't know what it was, and I just order without ordering the additional thing. And every time I sit here, I realize it was the fucking webcam. Anyway. Quietly, the rain fell down. The rain of sadness dripped down the outer walls of the chapel, quietly washing away the dust of the world of the living. Also, sorry to interrupt this again, but I actually wanted to read this. Willard H. Wright, a member of the SSVD, the 8th District Repentance Enforcement Agent of the Great Court of Heaven, an Inquisitor of Heresy and a first-class Archbishop. He is commonly known as Wright of the 20 Wedges, or Wizard Hunting Wright. He was an ace Inquisitor of Heresy in his youth, feared for being both ruthless and merciless in his work. However, at some point there was a change in his work attitude, and his previous flashy escapades became a thing of the past. His current style is often fickle, alternating between laziness and obsessive bursts of energy regarding mere trifles. By now, everyone has given up trying to understand him. He has already filed his resignation and had it accepted. Only a few days remain before he'll lose the name of Wright. Okay, we have her again. Same as usual. She's here again. Same as usual. The Witch of Miracles and Miko to the Witch of Theater going. In the 7th game, she conducts Beata's funeral. She was defeated in the previous game, making her the loser. She has proclaimed that she will tear out the guts of Beata's game to satisfy her irritation. And yet... Okay. The chapel doors were open. During a wedding, only those with invitations are allowed inside. However, during a funeral, the doors are open to all who remember the deceased. So this must be a funeral. A shadow holding an umbrella approached the chapel. It was Will. Achievement unlocked. A new visitor approaches. What does he look like on the PS3? I mean, he looks pretty cool on this version. A reception desk had been set up at the chapel's entrance. As the shadow approached, Kanon, who had been sitting at this desk, stood up and welcomed him with a bow. "This is the reception desk. We are collecting the names of all mourners. If you would sign in here." "Sorry, but I'm not a mourner. I'm here to meet with someone." "You came to a funeral to meet someone?" A dubious expression rose to Kanon's face. Will pulled an envelope from his pocket and showed him the sender's name. "My apologies. Please enter." "Thanks. Could I at least have one of those?" "Thank you very much. I am sure she will be pleased." Kanon handed him a wondrous set of golden roses, which were being handed out to all the mourners. Will took it, silently bowed his head, and entered the chapel. Yeah, true, I can always order the webcam separately, but it's just like... I don't know. Inside the chapel, several people who appeared to be the family of the deceased were gathered, and they all seemed to be recalling memories of the departed. Okay, I think at this point it's clear who died. "Oh, Beatrice, why? Could this be the time when she fell off the cliff?" "Father, please take care. Why don't you rest in the waiting room for a bit?" "I killed her. I did it." "See? It is."
"Absurd. How could that be, Rosa-sama?"
"Father's really bawling."
"Yeah, Beatrice, huh?"
"I'm sure he didn't cry this much when Mother passed away."
"Hey, now's not the time to say things like that."
Some sobbed, unable to conceal their tears, and some spoke softly of old memories. They were all remembering the dead in their own way, it seemed. When Will approached the altar, several people turned around. Of course, none of them knew who Will was. Paying this no mind, Will walked in front of the casket on the altar, which seemed to be buried under golden roses. Inside the casket there was no corpse. Instead, as though it lay there in place of a body, was a single, thick book with an extravagant binding. The space all around it was filled with countless golden roses. There were words printed on the book's cover. "To my beloved Beatrice, October 5th, 1980... Huh? I'm sorry, what? But, huh? Wasn't she, like, didn't Rosa say she killed her a long time ago? Now I'm confused. Miss Beatrice. If it was Mrs., then forgive me. I've never met you. However, allow me to express my condolences. He took the rose he had received from the reception area and placed it in the casket. I mean, it could still be a book where somebody just wrote a future date on the cover, but then why would you even do that? But if this was 1986, then how does anything make sense? He had absolutely no connection to the woman called Beatrice. However, since he had come to visit a funeral, he had to show this minimum amount of respect for the dead. As part of this, Will prayed for the passage of the dead into the next world. Pardon me, but who might you be? I'm Ushiromia Klaus. I'm serving as the chief mourner. This is my child, Leon. The fuck? Who are you? The first child of Klaus and Natsuhi, Jessica is their second child, was given the silver ring of the successor to their headship and will succeed the position of family head upon turning 20. I'm sorry, what? Oh, okay, I probably shouldn't read that yet. How would you... huh? I thought they never managed to have kids until Jessica... I'm so confused. Pleased to meet you. I'm Ushiromia Lion. Should I... is that Lion? Or maybe Leon? I mean, Leon is kind of weird. Or girl, but so is Lion. Leon. Interesting choice of kanji. I'm just gonna call her Leon. So we can always think of what was her name? Resident Evil 4. Leon! Help me, Leon! What is her name again? You know, if you played it. The president's daughter. This is my child, Leon. Pleased to meet you. I'm Ushiromia. Help me, Leon! Leon? Who the heck are you? It's written as Leon, but pronounced Leon. I guess it's a bit strange for a Japanese name. Will stared at Leon's face, wearing a confused expression. He hadn't seemed particularly interested in Klaus, but Leon had apparently drawn some sort of reaction from him. What was the goddamn name? I can't give it a rest now. It's not Heather, that's Silent Hill 3. Rather than interest, it was more as though he felt like something was out of place. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Klaus-sama, Madam says it is about time.
Oh, I see. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're too noisy in here, it may disturb the dead. I've been told that the waiting room has been readied.
Ashley, thank you. That would have not occurred to me. I was totally at a loss there. It wasn't even on the tip of my tongue. Ashley was completely out of my... every possibility that came to my head.
I've been told that the waiting room has been ready. Shall we move over there?
When Klaus called out to everyone, they began to move towards the chapel waiting room.
My apologies. Leon, could you entertain our guests for now?
Oh, I guess it's still, I will guide the... no, it was Genji.
I will guide the others to the waiting room.
Or is it? I mean, Genji disappeared after that, but now she says, yes, father. Whatever. It looked like a natural conversation with no awkwardness for either father or child.
Father and child, is it?
Yes, but why do you ask?
Ushiromia Klaus's child is supposed to be Jessica.
Jessica's my little sister. Do you need me to call for her?
No, that won't be necessary.
Apparently some sort of game was already being played right off the bat. Scratching at his head with an irritated look on his face, Will glanced around. Pardon me, but what sort of relation did you have with the deceased?
Not at all. It's a real pain.
Then why did you come to this funeral? Since Leon was a fairly mild person, Will's behavior was met with nothing more than a blank expression. A normal person would probably have put on a dubious look long before this. Will scratched his head again and yelled angrily at someone other than Leon. I'm here. Isn't it about time you show your face? The members of the Ushiromia family had already followed Klaus's instruction and moved to the waiting room. By now, no one could be seen in this cold, vast chapel decorated with gold roses except for Will and Leon. So you've come, wizard hunting bright, inquisitor of heresy. The girl's voice came suddenly from behind the pair. Oh? Oh, okay. When Leon turned around in surprise, a girl had appeared out of nowhere and drifted down on top of the altar. She landed softly on the sacred funeral altar as though this was perfectly normal, crushing the golden roses under her shoes. Well, that's nice. Of course, Leon didn't know this girl. Just why on earth were all of these people unrelated to the funeral popping up one after another? I'm already retired. If you have a job you need doing, go ask the new right.
No, you're the one I want to ask. I'm giving this case to you. Did you read the tale I sent you?
I skimmed it.
I don't know who you are, but please get down from there. That's a sacred altar.
Snapping out of a daze, Leon told the girl to get down off the altar, but she ignored this completely. On top of that, Will kept on talking to the girl as though Leon wasn't even there. I hear this is Leon. Who is that exactly?
You've already heard who.
Ushinomiya Leon. There's no case of a person with that name appearing in any of the previous games. Is this your piece?
No, it's a true and proper piece of this game board. A character appearing in the story.
You're the game master. That means it's your piece.
I've just moved from Beata's cat box into a larger cat box. Leon is one of the pieces who has a possibility of appearing inside it.
Mm-hmm. In other words, it is your piece.
It's a piece I've placed, would be the correct way to say it.
So you're saying this piece isn't your subordinate like Erica?
Erica? Who's that? Erica, son? Huh?
Don't try to understand. You'll just get a headache. Leon didn't have a clue what they were talking about. However, though neither person was familiar, it seemed clear that they both knew a lot about the Yoshidomiya family.
I don't know what you two are talking about. Anyway, you girl, please get down off the altar. I asked this is the successor to the Yoshidomiya family headship.
Even Leon was finally forced to speak in a raised voice to that girl, who continued to chant while casually standing on the altar. Altar, altar. However, the girl ignored this completely. Once again, on the other hand, Will did show a reaction. The successor is supposed to be Klaus.
My father Klaus will be the acting head until I turn 20. Then I am to succeed the headship.
First I've heard of this. Can you prove it? It seemed that even Leon was starting to get ticked off by now. That calm expression appeared to twitch slightly.
This is the successor silver ring of the one-winged eagle. Is that proof enough for you?
The silver ring? The golden head's ring has appeared several times, but I've never heard anything about a silver ring for the successor. I don't remember Klaus or Jessica ever wearing one of those.
I'm glad. For someone who's just skimmed it, it seems you've read it pretty well.
When a witch hands you a story, you never know when something absurd will pop up, especially when it's a great witch from the Senate.
Who in the world are you two? Sorry, but I don't have a clue what you're talking about. If you've finished offering flowers to the departed, please make your exit. It seems you two aren't worthy of our family's hospitality.
Leon finally ran out of patience. These were the strictest words that this gentle kid could unleash. However, Will and the girl seemed to not care at all. Or not to care at all. I didn't come here because I wanted to.
We're wasting time, so let's move onwards. Right. Try and beat this game. As the game master, Bernkastel, I invite you to join in.
I refuse.
Why?
I'm retired now. Reasoning and mysteries aren't my business anymore.
How do you intend to spend the rest of your life? Is wizard hunting right going to give up witch hunting?
There's still fox hunting and clam hunting to look forward to. I didn't come here to discuss the rest of my life with you.
So you came here to refuse?
Know that your powers of deduction are truly a sight to behold.
Then do as you will. Go wherever you please. That is assuming that you can leave this place.
So, what are the terms and payment? In truth, Will had resigned himself from the beginning. He knew that he was incapable of refusing an invitation from the great Lady Bernkastel.
Who killed Beatrice? That's my game. In payment, I'll forgive you for your insolence and let you leave this chapel.
I hear that boredom-hating witches just love being spoken to rudely.
That's only for hags who've tired of life after 1,000 years. I'm still plenty young, so I love thinking up horrible fates in which to trap rude men like you.
So, who's my enemy?
There is none. There's no one to stand in your way. I just want to sit back and watch you make your beautiful checkmate in this game. I've even found you an ally. That's what this Leon is for. Huh?
After hearing that name spoken out of the blue, Leon frowned once more. Apparently they were moving the things along without Leon's knowledge or understanding, which the latter seemed to find truly irritating.
Leon is a member of the Ushidomiya family, and should prove to be a useful ally, seeing as no one in the family knows you. I'm not sure what this is all about, but I can hardly be of assistance until I know what's going on here.
There, see? With help like this, it'll be a piece of cake.
Entertain me and my master, wizard hunting right. Ow, maybe a polite theater goer.
Ow.
But I might throw popcorn at you if I get bored, okay?
Will scratched at his head with a displeased look on his face. He wasn't at all interested in getting involved, but by now he realized that he couldn't disobey Bernkastel's orders. Then he approached the casket and pointed at its rose-filled insides. You asked me to solve the case of Beatrice's murder, but Van Dyne's 20 rules, rule number 7, it is forbidden to have a crime without a corpse.
That's a devil's proof. Maybe it just isn't inside the casket. Unless you can prove that no corpse exists, this is mystery.
Rule number 1, it is forbidden to have a crime without all clues presented.
Don't worry, everything is gathered here.
Though there was no change to Will's unsatisfied expression, he seemed to have understood the general pattern of this place. The simple fact that a mere inquisitor of heresy had been summoned by an uninhibited, fickle, cruel great witch of the Senate meant that he'd be treated as no more than a mere underling. Uninhibited? All along he had possessed no way to refuse her. So, who killed the owner of this empty coffin? I'll answer that question. However, you'll let me do things my way.
As you like. Help me, Leon.
First off, I need to make you understand the current situation.
Yes, that would be extremely helpful at the moment.
Leon's expression seemed nonplussed, angry and confused, all at the same time. Over here. Okay, just wanted to see that. It'll be fastest to see it for yourself.
Wonderful. Please lead the way.
Will signaled with his chin for Leon to follow him and spun around. After snorting once in an unsatisfied manner, Leon followed him as though resigned to see Will's little show. As she watched them leave the chapel, Bernkastel sneered silently at them, a cold smile on her face.
As the Miko of the Great Witch of Theater going, drama and spectating, feathering something aurora, and as the Witch of Miracles, I, Bernkastel, announced the start of this game. The tale's title is Requiem of the Golden Witch, spin a tale fitting for Beatrice's funeral. Well now, let's see just how you drag out the guts.
She watched until the pair had left the chapel. Bernkastel's form evaporated into the empty air just as she had arrived. All that remained was her unpleasant cackling. Outside, it was still raining. When Kanon saw the guest and the successor approaching the reception desk, he bowed deeply.
Good work. You can take a break now, so would you mind leaving?
It's Kanon. Yes, as you wish. She doesn't know his name. Kanon bowed deeply, then disappeared. Don't you remember the names of all your servants?
Our family has many young servants coming in and out, and they're usually replaced quite frequently. Well now, what are you trying to explain to me? Who are you, and what business do you have with this family? Of course, there's no need to convince me. Feel free to head on home if you want.
There is no going home. Not for me. Not for anyone.
Could you please give that a rest? Stop speaking in confusing riddles like that all the time. Even I have limits to my patience. If you don't want me to see you off, should I call Genji or Goda?
Don't freak out. Look at this.
Yes, I can see that. It's one of the memorial roses. Are you going to show me some kind of magic trick?
Will took one of the flower offerings, then showed it to Leon as though pointing out that there were no mechanisms or tricks. Then he slowly lifted it upwards. Watch.
Yes, I'm watching. Is a dove going to fly out of it? Or is it going to be flags and fireworks? Huh?
Will threw the rose. Anyone would have expected it to fly in an arc and land in some puddle. It didn't, which was why Leon had been struck dumb. The rose, thrown by Will, certainly had flown in an arc. It should have sped on rapidly through the air. However, as soon as it passed out from the shade of the eaves and was about to reach the rain, it stopped right in mid-air, as though the air surrounding it had turned into syrup. That wasn't all. As it hung in mid-air, the rose's beautiful golden petals began to darken one after another, and it became a black husk, like burnt charcoal. And even after this happened, it remained suspended there in the air.
What sort of trick is this? Ah!
Don't move. Leon had moved closer to try and touch the remains of the rose, which still hung in the air. Will had roughly blocked the way with his arm. It was as though he was telling Leon that leaving this place meant certain death. This chapel has been cut off from the fragment. We're currently locked in a concentrated loop of time.
What do you mean by that?
Explaining is a pain, so I'll just give you the short version. Basically, unless we play along with that witch's game, no one can leave this place.
What? The funeral is already over. I'm sure some people will want to return to the mansion or the guest house. We can't be locked up in here.
If you've got a bone to pick, that witch is the one we're looking for. Being stuck in a place like this isn't any more pleasant for me.
That girl's your friend, right? Make her stop all this weirdness.
She's probably sitting in a spectator's seat with a bucket of popcorn about now. She won't come if we just call her.
What on earth is going on?
That short sentence described all of Leon's feelings at that moment. However, Leon had seen the rose Will threw wither in an instant in the rainy darkness. Leon tried doing the same thing with another rose, but the effect was exactly the same. No one would want to use their own body to test this fearsome something that could make roses crumble instantly. There's only one way for us to be released from here. We have to play along with Bancastle's game.
You mean the one about who killed Beatrice?
That's what she's telling us to investigate. If you could fill me in, this will go more quickly. That fickle witch will be completely satisfied. You'll be able to get rid of the two of us, and I have a date with Deanna when I get back. If I keep her waiting too long, she'll start tearing up the sofa again. What, is Deanna your cat?
Who killed Beatrice, you say? It's hardly something you should go barging into a funeral and asking the family about.
Questioning the family is one of the basics of the mystery genre. Just give up and accept it. I do know that Beatrice is the mistress of Kinzo, the family head.
You really are a strange person. How do you know so much about this family? Are you sure you have no connection with us?
Will knew this much about the Yoshinomiya family because Bancastle had shown him all of the fragments so far. Of course, he had no sort of connection with the Yoshinomiya family himself. The very plane of his existence was on a different level. So I'm guessing the fragments are basically like parallel worlds or something. I mean, it has never been stated clearly, but it definitely sounds like it. Everything they have mentioned so far about fragments, whenever they talked about them, sounded like it was some sort of parallel world. And they were like in a higher world above it or something. I mean, it says here the very plane of his existence was on a different level. However, Beatrice died a long time ago. According to Genji, she passed away before the mansion was completed, but the reason for her death is unclear. To be honest, this is the first I've heard about her being killed. Tell me about it.
My name is Yoshinomiya Leon.
Willard. Call me Will. For the first time, Will introduced himself. The mutual introduction was finally complete, and Leon was finally able to talk with him on an even footing. However, Leon took a deep breath and looked up at the sky, wearing a vague smile.
Will, son.
Call me Will. I'll call you Leon.
Will. To be honest, even I don't know much about this person called Beatrice.
I see. I guess it's called a game for a reason. If only Leon could have told him everything, revealing the truth without any effort from Will. Apparently things wouldn't be so easy after all. Everyone who enters the Yoshinomiya family knows the name and image of Beatrice. That's because of the massive portrait hanging in the entrance hall, isn't it? That portrait was first displayed in April of 1984.
Seriously, how is it that you know so much? Well, it's about time I stopped finding that odd, I guess. I'm sure you'll just start speaking in riddles again.
Leon was the successor and lived in the head household that made conversations with Kinzo an everyday occurrence. Because of this, Leon must have been used to chatting with people who were moody or hard to follow. With the understanding that getting stuck on the details would be nothing but a waste of time, the conversation naturally fell into a pattern, as though Leon and this unknown man Will were longtime friends.
Everyone knows Beatrice, and yet no one knows her. Kinzo's the only one who's ever met her.
The head seems to be particularly cranky today. I'll introduce you to him when the chance presents itself, so I ask that you develop an appropriately discreet attitude, Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect if it's a funeral of your beloved? I guess being particularly cranky is not exactly a surprise.
That was quick. I thought you'd resist a bit more than that.
I'm used to speaking with the family head. I've learned to accept most unreasonable situations and just go with the flow.
I can see that happening if you have to hang out with Kinzo all the time. Bernkastel had set up a barrier cutting the chapel off from the rest of the world. To destroy that, they would have to find out who killed Beatrice. For Leon, who had already experienced many of Kinzo's rantings, understanding this much was more than enough.
Emilian!
Just can't stop shouting that occasionally. The Yoshidomiya family members were relaxing here and there around the waiting room. You dyed a strand of your hair red once because of Will. I need pictures now. I dyed my hair black once, which actually looked pretty cool. Maybe you should do that again one day. It was for a small festivity where it really fit the whole theme. A light buffet-style meal had been set up, but it was a bit stale and not particularly appealing. Even so, those voracious kids seemed to find it intensely interesting. The cousins had set up camp around it, with Maria at the center. The adult siblings had also formed a group in a different corner. Perhaps because of Kinzo's absence, everyone seemed to be a little more relaxed.
Leon, where did you go? And who is that? Mother, I was entertaining this guest of ours. Well, this is my mother, Natsuhi.
No introductions needed. Just tell me what you have to say.
Did you say something?
No, he said nothing.
This is Will's son. It seems he knew the deceased.
With a smile, Leon casually smoothed over Will's words.
He wants to know more about Beatrice. Do you know anything about her mother? Leon, the departed is an individual to whom the head owed a great debt. Nothing more, nothing less. This funeral was a ceremony for the head to repay his benefactor for all he received while that person still lived. That is what I have been told, and there's nothing more to it than that. Thanks, Mother. Well, that's all my mother knows.
Natsuhi was eager to deny the scandal about Beatrice being Kinzo's mistress. However, she also had enough sense to realize that this scandal was probably true. Picking up that Natsuhi was in a bad mood and didn't want to talk about this anymore, Leon brought an end to that conversation before Will could say something rude again.
Well, this chapel belongs to the family.
So you're telling me to follow the family's rules?
Speak in a manner appropriate for a guest of the family. Let me be the medium for all of your conversations. I ask that you follow those 2 rules.
I'll work on that.
The mess this Bernkastel witch or whatever has dragged us into is a real pain. Because of that, I'm willing to help you. But we're equal partners in this job, and you'd best not forget that.
And here I thought you were just some well-bred rich boy. Seems you can speak up after all.
I must be prepared to shoulder the Yoshidomiya family's future after all.
Wait, is this a boy? I'm sorry if that was clear, but I kind of thought it was a girl. But I mean, that would make sense then that it's the successor, I guess, because they only want male successors. Although I'm not clear about that either. They have been talking in previous episodes about how they have to prepare Jessica to inherit. Well, I guess they said they had to prepare her because she would inherit the family someday, which could still mean she would not be the head, but her husband would be. Got it. I'm still gonna give him, if it's a him, kind of high voice though, because it just fits. But I seriously thought it was a girl. Got it. Let's solve this crime together, Watson.
I'm glad I can help. I wouldn't want to keep your dear cat Diana waiting. Won't she need to be fed soon?
I gave her extra food today, so she should be good for a while. I'm surprised you realized Diana was a cat. Well, I did too.
I figured it'd be just a bit too eccentric for her to be a human woman who scratches at sofas when you keep her waiting. So, who will you talk to first?
Anyone. Everyone. Those ones over there are Klaus's siblings, right? From right to left, there's Aunt Eva, Uncle Hideyoshi. Over there's okay, so this is Leon probably.
Over there's Uncle Rudolph, Aunt Kyria, and over there is
Ushidomiya Rosa, the one who slaps her daughter all the time. When she was a girl, she once got lost in the forest and bumped into a woman calling herself Beatrice in a hidden mansion.
I know I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but you really do know everything, don't you?
Okay. So what I gather from that is this is not right after Beatrice fell off the cliff. This is probably 1986, and they're just having a funeral for her now instead of having it back when she was knocked off the cliff or something. Or I'm still not really clear about all this. But that is my new idea now. So you know about that story too?
I managed to overhear her saying that today. It looked as though it was bothering her, so I pretended not to hear.
Real model student you are. Introduce me. I wanted to ask about it.
You're asking this of the model student who pretended not to hear because it just might be a painful topic?
Even this outrageous arrogance is nothing compared to Kinzo. After muttering this several times mentally, Leon shrugged and nodded at will.
Oh, it's our successor, Sama. And who is this? Oh, Aunt Eva. This is Will's son. He came to offer flowers for the departed.
But who cares about that? He just... has such a great way of saying exactly what is probably not appropriate. But who cares about that? Tell me everything you know about...
He says he wants to know what sort of relationship the Yoshidomiya family has had with the deceased.
Leon spoke with a bright smile after pinching Will's butt. Oh, damn. Pinching his butt, huh? Will silently protested as though saying, I saw that coming, but damn, that hurt. But Leon just played dumb and smiled at Eva like a model student.
Well, even if you say relationship with the Yoshidomiya family...
It probably makes more sense to say her relationship with the father. No need to beat around the bush. She was father's mistress.
If you call her that, Natsuhi-san will yell at you again. He's indebted to her, right?
Yep, that's right.
Well, there you have it.
I have no interest in anyone but Rosa.
I do believe that you said you met with Beatrice, Aunt Rosa.
Damn it. A bit hoarse again. I'm just gonna take something which I'm not gonna show on camera because I don't want to be kicked out of Twitch. Yum, yum. This whole time Rosa had been hanging her head. Leon's words made her shoulders quiver.
She just suddenly came out with it today. It's a bit hard to believe.
Grandma received no funeral. She was just buried in the backyard.
I mean, considering how much more Kinzo preferred Beatrice over his actual wife, from what we have heard so far, I wouldn't even be that surprised.
It's the truth. I killed Beatrice.
Perfect. Our work here is finished. I'm leaving.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Rosa broke down crying and laid her head on the table. Kyria and Hideyoshi tried to console her.
Nokonjima is covered by a dense forest. We only know about one tiny portion of it. Just the mansion, the rose garden, and the little path that leads to the harbor.
And back then you didn't have Google Maps. Damn, was that commercial again? I'm sorry. As well. I hope not. For years there's been stories about how Dad built a hidden mansion somewhere in the vast forest that no one knew about, and that he had a mistress living there. Rosa's probably stumbled on the hidden mansion by chance.
However, what does this have to do with Aunt Rosa killing Beatrice? If I hadn't taken her out with me, she never would have died. She was so innocent, like a chick. I took her out and she just followed along obediently. She stayed right behind me, trusting me completely. And because I made her take such a dangerous path,
Did you make her walk that way because you were hoping she'd slip and fall from the cliff?
I never meant to do that. I just thought she'd like to see the ocean, though. It just looked like the path would be hard to walk, and I thought it would be easier going if we went down the cliff first.
That's not what it means to kill someone. It was an accident.
An accident she never would have had if I hadn't brought her with me, right? It's my fault. And then I abandoned her when she was covered in blood and I ran home.
It isn't your fault. Beatrice had never seen the ocean before. You showed her that for the first time ever. She was probably so excited that she just happened to take a bad step.
How can you know that?
Beatrice might thank you for what you did, but she would never hate you.
Really? Is that really true?
She's the one who begged to see the world outside the fence, right? Though it was only for a short while, you made that dream of hers come true. If I were Beatrice, I'd thank you for that short bit of time. If she knew that you've been suffering all this time for it, she'd probably feel sorry for you. Beatrice is grateful for what you did. You're the one who taught her that the sea is blue.
Is that true?
I guarantee it. Will made that statement openly and boldly. It wasn't clear how Rosa took those words. However, it had apparently been enough to remind Rosa to take a handkerchief out of her pocket and wipe her eyes with it.
Thank you.
And those are the words Beatrice is whispering to you even now.
Thank you.
Rosa wiped her eyes with the handkerchief one more time and hung her head. It no longer looked like a fit of sobbing, but more as though she was speaking with Beatrice of that day within her heart. One last time.
You really have no problem making claims you could never back up, don't you?
Yeah, back up? Is that really necessary to comfort a woman?
It seems I underestimated you.
How many years did it torment Rosa?
No, finally, she would probably be able to face that innocently smiling Beatrice, who had seen the ocean for the first time in her life.
She was the only one who could forgive Rosa. Now the two of them could finally speak together.
I don't know who you are, but thank you. I wonder if she'll forgive me.
You've worried about it for nearly 20 years. That's far too long. She'd tell you that you've suffered more than enough already.
That's right, Aunt Rosa. The sadder you are, the sadder Beatrice would be. You too, thank you. I don't know if I'll be forgiven, but I'll keep on speaking to my heart to see whether she'll forgive me or not. Thanks, you too.
I mean, the existence of Leon maybe just means that now we're in a parallel world where Natsuhi and Klaus were managed to get a child a bit earlier.
Thanks, you too. Sorry for showing you such an embarrassing side of me.
And I'm sorry to say this right after saying something so pretty, but I want you to talk to me. Tell me what happened back then.
Well, son. Thanks, but it's fine. I'll talk. Hiding this and keeping quiet about it for so long might have been my greatest sin.
Exactly when was it that you met Beatrice? Upon hearing this question, Rosa closed her eyes lightly, reaching back to a past she didn't want to remember.
Okay, it was about 20 years ago.
How old are you now?
20 or... wait, it might have been 19 or
18 years ago, huh? So like, same age as Butler, maybe? You know?
I'm sorry. I've tried to force myself to forget it for so long that I've nearly forgotten that part completely.
Yeah, it should have been 1967 then. Renov had guaranteed that with a red truth in the third game.
That's right. It was probably about 1966...
You know, the number there. 1967.
I can remember what happened as clearly as a picture. I'll never forget. If it's tough for you, don't feel like you have to tell us.
No, actually, you have to. Clear as a picture, if you don't mind. I gotta say, I like him. Damn it, that hurts, Leon.
What does?
I just hope Leon won't start pinching him in the front as well.
At the time, I was in a state of shock since my tutor told Mother about something that was supposed to be a secret. On that day, I became reckless and I kept on running deeper and deeper into the forest.
This tale has also been told in a previous fragment. Back when Rosa was just a kid, she went deep into the forest, found a hidden mansion, and met with a mysterious woman who called herself Beatrice.
But that forest is so thick, even pushing your way through a bit of it is hard, right? I even surprised myself. To think that I made it so far into such a dense forest, I was tormented by twigs and shrub leaves over and over again. However, that wasn't enough to bother me on that day. After all, I wanted to disappear into the forest and vanish forever. If by some chance there really was a witch's mansion in the depths of the forest, I hoped that she might take me to some paradise, or else turn me into a frog and make me a resident of the forest.
So you then reached the hidden mansion, Kuadorian, and met a woman who called herself Beatrice.
Yes, I met her.
Was that Beatrice the same as the one in the portrait?
Yes, they were the same person. Beautiful blue eyes, golden hair, a black dress. It truly was that person in that portrait. When Father first had it hung, I realized that the 20 years I'd spent trying to forget must have seemed just as long to Father, if not even longer. And I became even more fearful of my sin. Stop there. Are we sure that this is the same Beatrice that Rosa's son met?
Immediately curious spoke the question that Will had been thinking of. It would be too rash to assume that the Beatrice Kinzel met and the one Rosa met were the same person. The time and generation didn't match up.
Beatrice is supposed to be the Lady of Leisure who lent Dad all that gold shortly after the war, right? By using Beatrice's gold as a foundation, Father revived the Yoshinomi family and got super rich. Then he brought Rook and Jima and moved over. Rosa's son meeting her must have been at least 10 years after that.
A woman who could do as she pleased with 10 tons of gold could hardly be some little girl, and 10 more years passed before she met Rosa. Rosa, about how old did the Beatrice you met look? She looked older than I was at the time, but even so, it looked as though she might just be reaching adulthood. Yes, just the sort of age of the Beatrice in the portrait.
Did she look middle-aged or past her prime?
If I had to call her an adult or a child, she was clearly closer to being a child. There's no way she was middle-aged. And isn't that strange? We have the Beatrice you met and the Beatrice who gave Father the gold, but their ages don't match.
In other words, they're different people.
Different people who look very similar and have the same name.
It might have been her daughter. Kit would obviously end up looking like her mother.
His mistress's daughter. It is possible. Perhaps Father had an illegitimate child with Beatrice who gave him the gold.
And then Rosa bumped into Beatrice II. That way the ages fit just fine.
I see. In other words, there are 2 people who can be called Beatrice.
Kinzel secretly raised his mistress's child in a hidden mansion. It made sense. Everyone nodded, agreeing. However, Will's expression was slightly unsatisfied and he scratched at his head. So it would seem that this funeral exists for the 2 Beatrices he couldn't mourn because they were kept secret. Rosa, I know you probably don't want to remember, but tell me about that accident. After Beatrice fell, was she still breathing?
No. Her eyes were open wide. She fell upside down, head first, and knocked her head against a sharp crack on the rocky beach. And she fell from such height. Her skull had split and caved inwards. That beautiful golden hair was stained red with blood almost instantly.
Was it the sort of wound that clearly showed that she was dead?
Yes, I saw the insides of her cracked head. It had caved in deep enough to fit your fist inside it. No one could be naive enough to see that and still hope that she was alive. Well, do you really need to ask anything more?
That's enough for the time of the accident. What did you do afterwards?
I dashed away at full speed. I can't say I was thinking about calling for help. I wanted to escape from that place as fast as I could. Half crazed, sobbing, and out of breath, I kept on running about at random. Eventually, I came across a familiar lion statue. Oh, the one in front of the chapel? No, the one behind it. Anyway, I made it back to the mansion. I couldn't tell anyone, and I didn't want to. I stayed quiet until nightfall. It was so horrible of me. If I had hurried and told someone, they might have brought her a first aid kit, and she might have been saved.
But didn't you just say that that wasn't possible? How exactly is a first aid kit going to help with a crushed cranium? You didn't kill her. Don't worry about that anymore.
Then what did you do next? That night I turned over in my bed so many times. I couldn't sleep. Late that night I quietly called Genji-san on the phone and told him.
What did he say?
He told me to let him handle everything and to speak of this to no one. I spent the next several days terrified that Father would call for me and scold me brutally. But he didn't. Kenji-san kept on doing his job quietly, just like normal. Father stayed locked up in his study, not knowing any of it. At the very least, none of us ever heard about it.
Genji-san probably managed to clean everything up nicely.
After all, they couldn't let knowledge of that child go public.
Even if she was an illegitimate child, she was still his daughter by blood. It must have been tough for Father not being able to hold a funeral for her.
I suppose that's why we're having this funeral.
And then?
That's all I know.
And that's all I know too.
I'm not hiding anything else. I've told you everything. I swear it.
Will scratched at his head, letting his gaze wander. It had taken Rosa a lot of determination to make this confession, but it was nothing particularly special for Will. It had apparently been little more than a review of information he already knew.
Thanks, Aunt Rosa. Is that enough for you, Will?
Are you satisfied? That's enough. Oh, it was a nice review. To Will, Rosa's memories gave only information that was already known. This was the first time he had heard all that about her running back to the mansion after Beatrice fell to her death, but none of it was particularly surprising. Apparently Rosa didn't know any more than this. If he wanted to learn more than what was in the fragments Bernkastel gave him, he would need to find new testimony. Leon, tell Kinzel that I want to talk to him. It looks like we won't get anywhere without asking the man himself. But isn't he dead already?
Where are you going?
Off to cool my head and organize my thoughts. Don't follow.
Well then, pardon me. Please take your time.
After giving an elegant bow, Leon made a face, tongue sticking out. Unless Will had eyes on the back of his head, he couldn't have seen this last bit. Also, hello, Popo. Will returned to the chapel by himself. The cold air and the monotonous sound of the rain were comforting.
So how's the game going?
And he had come here for a little peace and quiet. As soon as he let out a sigh of relief, that voice rang out. That's my line. It was as though she had been sitting there all along. Bernkastel appeared on top of the altar once more. Beatrice's altar must have been extremely comfortable.
Battler annoyed me over and over with his incompetence. You're quite competent compared to him, so it's much more relaxing to watch you work.
Unlike Ushido Battler's games, I have nothing standing in my way. It's easy.
That sort of game has already ended. Tales can be enjoyed twice. First you love them, then you tear out their guts.
So I'm a butcher now.
So, do you think you figured out who killed Beatrice?
Rose's confession is something I already know from a previous fragment. There was no brand new information. We're still at square one. Unless Ushido Kinzo tells us what really happened, we won't get any further than this. Don't tell me that arguing with Kinzo and persuading him to spill the beans is supposed to be part of this game.
That'd be fatally boring. Kinzo refuses to speak of the truth and is himself the king protected by his castle, but it wouldn't be any fun to have that stand in the way of your game.
I won't torture. It's not my style.
I know. As the game master, I will grant you power, so that you can get the truth from Kinzo, of course.
Still wearing shoes, Bernkastel stepped into the casket, picked up one of the flowers that had been set as offerings, and blew hard as though scattering fluff from a dandelion. Then a single petal broke off and drifted down towards Will, no longer gold, but with the shine of a transparent crystal. The detective authority?
No, it's an AK-47.
No.
What? That pathetic ability? No. This is an invitation to the grandstands.
Theater-going authority? That's supposed to be forbidden without authorization from the Senate.
I'm the one giving it on my game board. Who's going to stop me?
Though the crystal flower petal danced in the wind, it wouldn't fly away until Will accepted it. He remembered how useless it was to argue with witches and snatched it up. When he did, the petal flashed brightly for an instant, melted into Will's palm and disappeared.
Entertain me if you can.
And try and enjoy yourself. You must also be interested in seeing what the guts of Beatrice's game board look like, right? Not really. After Will's rude answer, Bernkastel vanished into thin air, leaving behind an obnoxious laugh. After clicking his tongue, Will turned around unhappily. When he did, it felt as though his gaze had crossed that of a shadow standing right in front of him near the door that led outside. Who is it?
Pardon me? I heard a voice, so I wondered who it was.
Oh, Shannon. So you're running the reception desk this time?
Yes. I've been taking it in turns with Kanon-kun to run the reception desk.
And Kanon?
A short while ago he was ordered by, Leon-sama to take a break, so he's resting now.
So you don't know Leon either?
Huh? No, that's not...
Ushidomiya Leon is the successor, the one who wears the silver ring. Why are you stumbling over that name when you've worked here for 10 years?
That's...
Don't worry, I don't recognize Leon either. House is supposed to be the successor. Jessica is supposed to be his only child. There hasn't been a single fragment with anyone named Leon in the Ushidomiya family. When she realized that Will didn't recognize Leon either, Shannon relaxed. Apparently she was a bit relieved to find that she wasn't going crazy by herself. However, her expression quickly grew uncertain once more.
Where is this place? I think it's the Ushidomiya family chapel. However, something feels different about it. Also, I never knew that someone named Leon-sama existed. And yet Madame, Klaus-sama, the master, Milady, and all the relatives all talk as though it's perfectly natural. I just don't understand what's happening.
Leon is a piece placed by Bernkastel. She also said that in order to place that piece, she switched over to a larger cat box. On top of that, it seems this world isn't a proper world, but one made out of several different fragments sewn together. It's as though this is a special stage set up specifically for this game. I'm sure she's nodding at my thoughts right now, laughing and chomping down popcorn. How long have you worked here in this world?
10 years?
I see. So it really is a special stage. After all, right when I entered the chapel, I spotted Kinzo. Since Shannon has been working here for 10 years, this world takes place in 1986, the stage of Beato's game. In that case, Kinzo shouldn't exist. Yeah, that's what I said. However, he definitely was here a few minutes ago. Bernkastel promised that all of the information needed for reasoning was gathered here. She must have really packed it together to fit everything in. I see, so it really is a special stage. You've served the Ushidomiya family for many years, so just how much do you know about Beatrice?
I know the master loved her deeply, but other than that...
Is that all?
And, they say that she's the master of Rokkanjima's knight,
That's right, the name of the ghost rumored to wander the mansion night after night is also Beatrice. That brings the number of Beatrices to 3. The first is the Beatrice from more than 30 years ago, who is said to have given Kinzo the gold. The second is the Beatrice from 20 years ago, who met Rosa. The third is the Beatrice of the ghost stories, who is rumored to be the master of the night on Rokkanjima. Fudono Erika's reasoning was probably correct. It started out as a legend of evil spirits on Rokkanjima, later on elements such as Kinzo's occult hobbies, the name and portrait of the mysterious woman, Beatrice, and the epitaph got mixed in, and it was all integrated into the legend of the Golden Witch. Then, the darkness of the night gained the personality of a witch. That's the third Beatrice. This became the veil for the serial murderers. Apparently she didn't understand a word of Will's sudden monologue. Shannon tried to follow along, but she seemed to be having difficulty. Don't waste your time trying to understand. You'll just get a headache.
My apologies.
Kanon doesn't know Leon either, right?
Yes, Kanon-kun was the same as me.
Shannon and Kanon, is it? Call Kanon over here. I want to talk to the pair of you about something. Uh-huh. When Will said these words, Shannon's face went blank and her eyes went wide. I was about to wonder if he tries to have both of them on screen at the same time.
My apologies, we aren't allowed to leave the reception desk unmanned, so I can't leave to go get him.
And find a replacement and have them take over the reception desk until you get back. You, me, and Kanon. We, the 3 people who don't know Leon, need to talk.
We've been told that one person is enough to run the reception desk.
But no one told you there was anything wrong with the 2 people manning it, right?
We're low on helpers today, so we were told that having 2 people at the reception desk would be unnecessary.
Who gave you that order? Kinzo, Klaus, or was it Leon? I will check with them.
It was the one who orders me. I cannot disobey orders.
Who's this person? I'll negotiate with them.
You cannot negotiate. It is the one who orders us.
Call Conan over here. I hate theater going just as much as I hate torture. Slowly, Will pulled his right hand out of his pocket. When he slowly opened his fist, a small bright glow emanated from it. The flower petal given to him by Berncastle had become a glowing, sparkling mark on his hand. He held that hand out towards Shannon and slowly approached her. Call Kanon. I want to check something with you too.
I cannot call him. Do you still want me to?
If you don't call him, I'm going to use my authority.
If you insist, I can call him specially for you, but...
There was some kind of incomprehensible tension between the two. Will stood there, his left hand still in his pocket and his right palm glowing and stretched out towards her. Shannon just stood there, her hands still folded politely in front of her, her posture beautiful, and yet it felt oddly as though windswept drops of rain were sparkling and crackling in midair.
I will go call Kanon-kun. Are you absolutely certain?
Will's expression had remained unchanged the whole time. Shannon's face was so kind and gentle, and yet the tension was as icy as a frozen lake. Beginners in chess will sometimes move their king into check without noticing it. One might mercilessly capture the king in this situation, but high-level players are supposed to calmly tell their opponent about their mistake. If you take one more step, you'll get captured. This was similar to that. I see. So after all... I get it. That's enough. You guys can take it in turns to run the reception desk. Slowly, Will lowered his hand.
Thank you for understanding.
The glow slowly vanished from Will's palm. That completely incomprehensible tension melted away like a sugar cube in water. However, nothing had changed since the beginning. Will's expression and Shannon's expression were the same as they always had been.
Oh, are you leaving?
Footsteps approached them. It was Leon. Just having a casual conversation. I wanted to ask her something.
What could that be? Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah.
I'm honored to have been of service.
That's a shame. If you were looking for an umbrella, I could have gotten you one right away. Did you convince Kinzo?
I told him that a rare guest wanted to greet him. He says he'll meet with you.
Did you tell him that I wanted to ask about Beatrice?
Isn't that your job? Isn't that your job?
With a slightly mischievous look, Leon turned away. Will scratched his head and shrugged, looking annoyed. Oh well, guess I'll get a chance to try this out at least. Will opened his right hand and showed it to Leon. It was just a hand without anything remotely remarkable about it. Leon's head tilted to the side in bafflement at this strange gesture.
Good work. Wait, your name was... It's Shannon. That's right, Shannon. Please take over at the reception desk, and make sure you keep warm. Thank you very much, Leon-sama.
Shannon bowed deeply in response to Leon's kind words. There was not even a trace of tension in her manner.
Let's go, Will. You don't want to miss this chance. The head's mood changes quicker than the autumn sky. Good luck.
Here we go. Here we go.